Hi, Godless voice here. Something interesting happened to me today. I lost my free will, or more appropriately, my illusion of free will. I didn't mean to do it, but it happened. So now we're going to talk about it. This is a much less traumatic experience than losing my faith, because I was once faithful. That was a dark and terrible time. Fortunately, because I prize education, I was able to learn my way out of it. Now that I've lost my free will, or my illusion of free will, I'm a bit more curious now. What had happened was, an argument was being posed about whether or not we had a choice in our beliefs, in our faith, and in converting from faith to no faith. Was that a choice? One person was arguing that it was a choice, and I was arguing that it was not. In my personal experience, and from what I've learned from other people, nobody voluntarily loses their faith. You don't just give up your faith. Your faith is an understanding of the world. And when you make decisions, it is based on your understanding of the world. So do we have a choice? Well, I argued that people of faith, specifically those that believe in a supreme being, did not have free will, because the supreme being, who generally, in most cases, most religions, is all-knowing and all-powerful, can foresee the outcome of the soul, knows whether or not they're going to damn them to hell, decide to make them anyways. That act in itself removes free will. But then I entered this conversation, and oddly enough, by the time I was done with the conversation, I was done with my response to it at least, I realized that I had just talked myself out of free will. The question was, if belief is not a choice, how is it that people can convert from one religion to another? Or do you just ignore those questions that make you uncomfortable? My response: the reason why we convert is exposure to reason. This goes both ways, but is much more rare in atheists to faith, because an atheist usually entails that questions have already been asked, provided that they aren't apathists. Exposure to a reason to think otherwise is what changes people, not necessarily having a choice. Consider this. We have movies listed under horror, drama, comedy, etc. This is because, in general, these elicit this kind of response. This is a watered-down version of just how little we actually choose when considering anything with our beliefs or faith. The variation in how a person responds to new information is then measured through their personal exposure. A person's experience dictates the reasoning they already have in their databases, whether it is fact-based or faith-based. Because faith is backwards thinking from primitive humans, it is difficult to calculate just how much fact is needed to elicit a change in a person. People like Ken Ham have already reasoned out the statement, "What if the Bible is wrong?" They have already concluded as a fact that it is not wrong. And because of this, they can't be reasoned out of it. At least not in any foreseeable way. It's usually the ones that haven't ruled this out that are reachable in the face of new evidence. And that also touches on one of my favorite statements. This is the conclusion I have come to until new evidence is presented. I don't make choices. I respond to the evidence presented in the best way I can based on what I know. Simply, I do what I must. When I finished typing that out, it occurred to me that I had just gotten rid of my own illusion of free will, just in the course of typing that. It's a bit fascinating. After this conversation, I had spoken to, I'll mention her name because she's a public figure in the atheist community, and it's something that she does. She gets her opinions out there. I had spoke with Beth Presswood about aesthetics. I agree that morality and ethics, we don't have a choice in the matter. We respond in the way we see fit, in the best way we know how. We don't actually make a choice. We have a conclusion already presented based on the information we already have. I agreed with her there. My question was, and my thought was, that perhaps we still had free choice in aesthetic values. For example, I like chocolate and I like peanut butter. Which one am I going to have? I have a choice there, right? She responded, and I'm paraphrasing here, that no, I don't have a choice. First of all, I can't be made to like anything. I like what I like, and I cannot like something I don't like. I cannot pretend to like it. It is a personal preference based on my previous experiences and what I've been exposed to already. So, when it comes down to it, between chocolate and peanut butter, two favorite things, it's a matter of what I'm in the mood for. Well, my mood is now dictating it, not my decision-making skills. So, essentially, I have no choice. It all hinges on what I'm calculated to want right then. Alan Watts presented a statement that I'm also inclined to try and break down now. He stated that we are free to know ourselves, and that is all. That is the only free will we have. I disagree with that now. Previously, I'd considered it, but it wasn't something I had given a lot of thought to just yet, up until this conversation occurred. We aren't free to know ourselves. Either we're going to try and know ourselves, or we're not going to try and know ourselves. For example, somebody who is very much in the impression that they are always right, or more interested in being right, they're going to be less likely to analyze themselves. Myself, I love analyzing myself. I love questioning myself, and I love it when people question me. Because every time somebody questions me, I can either reinforce my view based on presenting a better argument, or I can change my view to something more correct based on their argument. So I love being questioned. I love people trying to falsify me. I want them to try and falsify me constantly. And I've been aware of Sam Harris's argument that we don't have free will. And frankly, I had been very dismissive about it. It's an irrational thing to do, considering that I hold rationality sacred. But once I had gotten into this conversation, I went and actually watched one of his videos and watched him discuss free will and how we don't have it. And suddenly I'm starting to agree with him. We don't have free will. We are a machine that is operating on programming that has already been set, that is behaving according to any genetic profiles we have that will actually affect our mental capacity and the information that we are being fed, our ability to process, and the environment around us, what is being thrown at us. We aren't actually making choices. We're reacting, constantly reacting. Reacting to what we've learned in the first 5 or 6 years of our lives. Then we spend our teen years trying to rationalize what we've learned in our first 5 years of our lives. And from there, we are a slave to our own mind. Our mind is set to operate a certain way, and whether or not we've been programmed to, for example, like myself, seek out new information, expose ourselves, we're not going to know very much. I have been given the the desire to expose myself to new experiences constantly. And because of that, I'm able to actually take in new information and assimilate it into what I already know, and then rationalize it. And then from that point, every decision I make afterwards is going to be based on what I already know and what I'm calculating at the time. No choice ever actually occurs in any of that. I am simply responding in the best way I know how. Either for moral reasons, for ethical reasons, or for selfish reasons. Purely selfish reasons. Everything we do is selfish, really. But there is a sector of behavior that is strictly selfish and inconsiderate of other people. That is incredibly selfish, or bad selfish, if you wish. I'm curious what any of you think. Do you have free will? Do you have a measure of free will? Do you have no free will at all? Why don't you leave some comments down below and tell me what you think about free will and whether or not you have it. And if you like what you're seeing here, and you like these thoughts, please subscribe, share the video, get it out there. If you think I'm a dumbass, show it to your friends and show them what a dumbass I am. Whatever the case may be. Godless Voice, signing off.